This podcast contains detailed plot spoilers, adult language, and mature themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to a podcast of Rare Antiquities. On today's show, we are going to dive into our review of Season 2 of Star Trek Picard. Geoff, welcome to the show. I know I had to twist your arm a little bit to do this one, but thank you for joining us once again. It's not like I have other options for the show, but I could have done a monologue today, but at least you decided to come.
I would have listened to your monologue on Picard Season 2. That might have been fun.
How's things? Let's start off that way. It's been a while since you've done this.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've done the show. You know, I've been consuming the pop culture as much as I've been able to.
I have not.
No.
At all.
Yeah, no, not much else to do. So, yeah, you know, that's about it. We're kind of like balls deep in Star Trek these days, which is, you know, if you'd have told me that 5 or 6 years ago, I would have been very surprised and excited to be in that state. Guess we'll talk about how that's worked out, but.
You're right. We are knee-deep in Star Trek. This is actually the first show at my new place, so...
Right on.
Yeah, I'm in the basement, so I've been downgraded into the bunker. And
you should have a whole recording studio set up down there by now.
No. I have a nice little... Have you ever heard of that horror movie, The People Under the Stairs?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm kind of close to that.
Just a fucking podcasting ogre in the place. And you know what? To be fair, that's probably 99% of podcasters, right?
That's true.
Just the neckbeards under the stairs of their house, although you probably are in the 1 percentile of those ogres who actually own their house. As opposed to their moms.
Well, yes. The bank owns, I'd say, the 25% of my house.
You own it. They're just waiting in the wings.
That's right. Yeah. So it's good to finally have, it's nice and cozy, and I always envisioned having a den or something like that where I could have a sophisticated setup, but it didn't happen. But anyway, I first want to ask you, before we start talking about our thoughts on Picard, I'm going to do a couple of, just a quick bullet point rundown off the top of my head. I have no notes on the story.
Okay.
Because I want to get the story straight, and I really want to talk about how this kind of fits in Star Trek canon and the timeline, and you can maybe set the record straight. Okay, so we start with Picard. He goes to Rios's Stargazer ship, and the entity, the Borg's coming through this conduit or something, wormhole or whatever you want to call it, and what we presume to be the Borg Queen infiltrates, like she beams over, or I already gave it away. Well, it's Borg. She beams over, and she starts tapping into their systems. Picard gives a self-destruct signal because they don't want the Borg to take over the whole fleet, and they go back. The ship explodes. Q sends him to an alternate reality in the future because Q changed something in the past. Now, this is a fascist, what they call it, the Confederation, instead of the Federation, and they realize that this is all fucked up. It's like the parallel universe kind of situation almost. The mirror universe where Federation or the Confederation is evil. Picard is this massive popular war criminal. Killed a whole bunch of dudes, right in line with mirror universe stuff that's going on. And they've captured the Borg Queen in this future timeline, and they're going to kill her to wipe out the Borg, or the leader of the Borg, or however you want to say it. So the Picard knows that, because he gets a sense that Q is dying or something's wrong with Q, and I can't remember, like Q does his speech saying this is another test or the trial never ended and those kind of things. And I think he admits to Picard that he changed something in the past, and that's all he'll say. So that Picard knows he has to go back to the past. The Borg Queen is able to identify where in the past the timeline merged or this change occurred. So they travel like they do in Star Trek 4. Instead of having Spock, since they have the Borg Queen, they're able to make those calculations, warp around the sun, travel to the past into 2024, is it? I believe?
Yeah, it was 23 or 24.
Yeah, I think it's 2024, so a couple of years from now. They find out there, like there's a watcher, because the Borg Queen said that there's a watcher, I believe, or it was Q that said that there's a watcher. I think it was the Borg Queen. And that watcher turns out to be a young Guinan who does not know who Picard is, and all the group separates. They leave Agnes on the ship, and then there's another watcher out there as well. And I can't remember how Picard figures this out, but he finds that person and it turns out to be Laris, or someone who looks like Laris, who's another watcher, who's like kind of like this time watcher in the same sense as Gary Seven from the original series. And she's watching over Picard's ancestor, Rene Picard. And Rene Picard apparently is a very important person in the context and the tapestry of history. And she discovers some kind of microorganism that cures or solves, but this microorganism will solve all of mankind's problems, whether it's a disease, climate change, environmental issues, whatever it may be. This microorganism is the sole reason why we merged onto a positive timeline leading to the Federation and the future that we know versus a offshoot segment which will lead into the Confederation, right? Mm-hmm. In the future.
Yeah.
And Q somehow is trying to discourage her from, he's putting in some wrinkles into the system. He's pretending to be her psychiatrist, saying you should be scared, or he's doing something to not convince her to join this mission, despite other people who may be going on that mission who would discover the microorganism anyways.
That's right.
But anyways, the main point here is Q is purposely trying to convince this one person not to go instead of jeopardizing the entire mission. Then, in the same time, since the Borg Queen is the Borg Queen, came back in the past, she's kind of, she doesn't have her legs, and she's like all hung up to dry there. They leave Agnes on the ship, and Agnes, for some reason, lets her take partial control of the ship, for some reason, I can't recall. And then she takes control of the ship, and then she starts Borgifying other people, and eventually merges with Agnes. So Agnes now becomes part Borg and part Borg Queen, because Agnes killed the Borg Queen while she's realizing that the Borg Queen is starting to assimilate people, or this one security made it onto the ship, some no-name redneck or whatever it was, but Borg Queen was able to jump or merge the consciousness or the Borg nanobites or whatever it's called into Agnes, and she's slowly being Borgified. And it's kind of like a dual personality. Agnes is still there, but the Borg Queen's like her whispering over her shoulder. So Agnes goes on a tear, and she wants to, for some reason, get more power, and starts eating up car batteries. So Raffi and Seven are trying to track down Agnes. Rios, when they beam down to the planet originally after the time travel, he gets arrested, he gets hurt. He goes to a free clinic that's being run by an illegal immigrant. He starts having the hots for her. He gets arrested by the ICE immigration officials, thrown in jail, somehow gets out. I can't recall how he got out or whatever the reason.
Well, we can talk about that part.
Okay. I can't recall how that happened. And then, there's a whole other stuff with Picard feigning.
The doctor was not an undocumented immigrant. She was legit. She was just running a clinic.
She was just running
for people who were undocumented.
Right. Okay. So that's going on with Rios. Mm-hmm. Raffi and Seven are chasing down Agnes. Agnes is trying to become more powerful and, becoming more Borg and trying to raise an army of Borg. Then Picard, with this watcher who looks like Laris, but is not Laris, because she's watching Renee, there's a whole subplot of Picard meeting his ancestor and trying to give her the encouragement, saying she should be proud of her accomplishments and she should travel out into space and continue on her path as an astronaut, knowing full well she'll achieve that mission and things will be good. However, at the same time, there's another subplot going on here with, is it Adam Soong? Brent Spiner plays another Soong.
He's a Dr. Soong. I don't remember which one.
Let's just say he's Soong. And he has a daughter who is Soji, essentially, but not Soji. Looks exactly like Soji. And she's like part vampire because she can't go out in the sun without melting. Yeah. So he's a geneticist, and he's trying to cure her. And he's apparently, because he's a geneticist, I guess he's been building a whole bunch of her. And they failed. Either they've been aborted or they never turned out. He's trying to create the perfect human through genetic experiments.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. She's the latest incarnation of that experiment. And she has this affliction to the sun, which he's still trying to cure. And for some reason, he's so important that if Renee doesn't find that microorganisms. The Borg Queen, as Agnes says, you will be this a very important person. You'll be like this mad scientist. The world will turn to you for all of its solutions, but he's really this evil, genius, mad scientist guy who would be hell-bent on destroying the world through genetic experiments or whatever other means. It's not completely clear. And he's gonna, even though all of this fails for him, he's going to continue with other genetic experiments, which would lead to Khan, or the eugenics war, or something like that, right? And he still tries to, even though Picard and Laris are successful in convincing Renee to go on the mission, but apparently the Borg Queen said somebody has to die or sacrifice. There's got to be 2 Renees. Somebody's got to pretend to be Renee so Soong can kill her, or kill that person, the fake Renee, so the real Renee can proceed on the mission. And that ended up being Laris. Now, all of this stuff, there's another subplot about Picard and his trauma, because at the beginning of the season, he's not willing to commit into a relationship with Laris, and he has trouble, as we've known from the past. He's never really nailed down a serious long-term relationship, despite there being many reasons why that is the case. And apparently many, many hours in this 10-episode run, I would say at least a good 4 to 5 hours, we're dealing with Picard's trauma, and his mom hung herself, and he blames himself because he let her out of a room. He thought something was happening between his dad and his mom that he didn't fully understand. He'd let his mom out of the room. His dad was protecting her. Whether that's good or not, locking somebody in the room, and I want to talk about that. I mean, it's not really the focus of the show, but because the mom had mental illness, she hung herself, and because of that, Picard's not able to forge any relationship with another female in the future. That shapes his relationships with everything. And that's who Picard mainly is, because of what happened to his mom. And then there's other stuff. I know they throw in the line here. There's other stuff that happened. I think there was an episode in TNG where he saw a vision of his mom, and she was an older lady, and she says, let's have some tea, just the way you like it and stuff.
That was his grandmother.
What? No, that was his mom.
No.
He called
her Nana. Or Nana, which is grandmother.
No, I thought he said Mama.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was supposed to be his grandmother.
I think it's his mom. But
I think that's
not important. No, actually, I know it's true that it's the mom because they have a specific line in this movie. They found a way to loophole that, get around that, because he said, I used to envision my mom as an elderly woman. Because he starts talking when he's talking to either Q or to Laris when they're having the trip down memory lane in his psyche or whatever it is. He says that to Laris, saying that, I used to envision my mom as an elderly woman to talk to, pretend that she was. So that's how they got out of it. So that was in TNG. That's my stance. But anyways, let's continue. So we deal with Picard's trauma, and in the end, the Watcher, who looks like Laris, sacrifices herself for Renee, and then Rios and Raffi and Seven help stop Soong from having drones blow up her rocket ship, and that defeats Soong's plans. He's left in the dust. The Borg Queen steals Rios' ship, which is the ship they use to get back in time. She goes off, but Agnes made a plea to the Borg Queen, saying that they could make a better Borg, because what the Borg deem as weakness, she finds that as a strength, that individuality. And then let's go make a better version of the Borg. They take off. And Picard and Rios, before jumping back into the future, Rios decides to stay behind, saying, nah, I love smoking cigars, I love the noise, I love the dirt and the grime, and I like this hot chick and her kid, and I'm staying behind. So he's gone. And before they jump back, the Q finally shows up again and says to Picard, I'm dying, this is my goodbye. I did all this for you and sent you down this memory lane and investigating your trauma because I don't want you to be alone because Q's dying. They do have a touching scene before Q snaps him back. Oh, and let's not forget Elnor was killed at the beginning of the show, on the second episode, and then Q brings them back to life as they return back. And then all is good, and they find out that Rios died in a bar fight. Which is fucking hilarious. But apparently he died the way he wanted to live. And what else happened? Then when they get back and they're back on the ship with the Borg that starts off the show, the Borg Queen finally reveals herself to be Agnes. And then she says, let's join hands and stop this threat that's following them through this wormhole or conduit. And the fleet and the Borg then put up their shields, stop this threat, and then they say, we're going to stay here and guard this wormhole or conduit from any other threat. And that's it. And then Picard goes back to the homestead or his vineyard, talks to the real Laris and says, no, I'm ready to have a relationship. And that's where the season ends. Did I get that all right? Is that correct?
I think you actually did a pretty good job. I think you hit pretty much all of the points. I'm pretty sure you got it all correct. Yeah, it's pretty good. Good job.
I don't know how you want to talk about this now. I guess just what did you like? What did you not? Why don't we just get it?
Okay, well, I really liked the first episode of the season. It seemed to deliver on the promise of the show. And, I was like, okay, here we go. Like, we're on starships. We're in space. We're wearing Starfleet uniforms. It's Star Trek shit. Awesome. And then the rest of the season happened, and I'm like, why is this, like, it's 10 episodes, I'm like, why is this Star Trek show placed in downtown Los Angeles in 2023? I'm like, that's what I didn't like. Like, the setting was no good. They rehashed so many story points. They basically merged Star Trek 4 and Star Trek First Contact. Like, I counted 3 separate Star Trek 4 references, direct references to Star Trek 4. I'm like, by the third Star Trek 4 reference in the writer's room, I feel like they should have been like, okay, right, we actually have done this before. Maybe we should rethink this whole thing.
And let's talk about that, because the pandemic hit. So these writers, I was listening to a Trek podcast. I listened to one podcast halfway through the season.
Yep.
And they said that writers had additional time because the series was paused for the pandemic. They had the show ready, every episode written.
Yep.
And then they went back and were able to rewrite or reconsider episodes and the storylines. They essentially had a whole other year to really hash this out.
Wow.
Before filming began.
Boy, I guess there's such a thing as too much time. I know there's certain limitations when they're making the show. I assume a lot of it revolves around
budget.
Patrick Stewart. Well, budget and Patrick Stewart's availability, right? I mean, he's obviously an older guy now, and he likes to work. And from all accounts, like, he's game, right, to work. But there are limitations when you're a certain age. So I assume a lot of it's like, hey, you've got Patrick Stewart for X amount of hours for X number of days, and you gotta make it work. And there's only so much you can do with complicated sets and special effects and costumes and all that stuff, right? You need to make it work. So I just felt the show felt like it had limitations outside of normal limitations for a TV show, like for a high concept sci-fi show, the kind of limitations you'd see on a show like the CW's Roswell, for example, where it's like, okay, well, we have this one backlot. We got to make it fit. Felt like that. A lot of it felt like that.
I think that's budget. So you probably know this, but don't. Star Trek Picard's rating in season 1. You even said it started off very strong. I recall you said that very specifically when viewing season. And I did some research, and that is true. But halfway through season 1, it lost more than half of its audience. By the time the show ended, it had a third of its audience than when it originally launched. And I'm wondering, because of that, budget to me would play a serious role in its setting. And that's probably the reason why they wanted to go back. There's a couple of reasons. I think Patrick Stewart's doing this also. I want to talk about what they were trying to go for and what they were trying to do going back in the past. Because they could have done anything they wanted. They wanted to set it in basically our current time and saying here, identifying certain social issues that are going on. I don't think they did a very good job discussing these things, but I think that was a driving force for the backdrop. And I think that they said, let's do this because we also don't have money. So the complaints about it being in space, a bunch of special effects, I think the first 2 episodes, especially the first episode, looked fantastic. And I think they blew their budget right there. It's done.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why I'm just giving you the backstory. Picard is not a successful show in terms of viewership. So I think that's also part of the problem. I don't think it's done the worst from one tell, but that's just one. But I mean, I pretty much
It's hard to say because the metrics for streaming are like, they are different, right? So
they are different, but there is some analytical software that's out there that does look at cable ratings and digital-only streaming. And so even looking at digital-only streaming ratings, season 1 did not do well. But the funny thing is, season 2 was doing, I don't know how it ended. Season 2 was that I found interesting. But anyways, forget about the ratings aren't important anyways. It doesn't matter. It's about quality storytelling. But how about, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I mean, I'm really tired of Star Trek, and this is coming from ever since we were having New Trek with J.J. Abrams' Trek. I feel like the interest is not in space anymore. It's about, let's bring it down to like Star Trek does the time too. It's hard to complain, but we've had this complaint where it's not, they don't want to be in space. They want to be on Earth or somewhere else, right? On a planet, right?
Yeah.
They don't do a lot of trekking in Star Trek anymore. And I think it's also clear right here. No, not at all. Which is terrible. I agree with most of what you said there. Why don't we segue and talk about Picard himself? And one of the complaints that I had, and I can't recall if you have the same feeling, season 1, is that Picard was not the center of attention at all in his own show. Now he is, giving him a complete story arc to go from start to finish with Q and with his trauma. Let's talk about that. What are your thoughts on this whole journey for Picard and his mother?
Yeah, the first thing that came to mind with Picard, he didn't, because I'll watch TNG episodes on a fairly regular basis just because it's TNG, like I'll watch episodes. And while I'm fine with the idea that, obviously this is 30 years later and he's a different guy, he's older, but I don't see any resemblance to Jean-Luc Picard that we know. No. It's just Patrick Stewart playing Patrick Stewart at this point.
Yes, that is a big complaint that I have. And as I said, I listened to another podcast. I listened to their episodes half of the season. And the same podcast was talking about season 2, and then talking about season 1 itself. And it's the same thing. It feels like it's a different character. And
it's a completely different character. Completely. He's such I'm fine that it seems like he's certainly softened up in his elder years, which I think is also fine. That actually tracks for me if you watch his arc through the films.
Exactly. I like the fact that he's kind of soft. He's a little bit more of a soft. Yeah. And I actually think that tracks just with humans. I think we're a bit more hard-nosed and hard-edged when we're younger. And then as you grow older, you gain that wisdom and experience, you become soft.
Right.
My dad was very much like it.
So that part of the character fits, but the rest of that character that would be decisive and confident and I don't know, I'm trying to think of the other qualities Picard has. Like, what was great about Picard of old is he had all of these characteristics and Patrick Stewart being such a great actor, able to really explore all of those facets and make you buy it. He was in command, he was decisive, he was confident. He was a bit distant from his crew, but not necessarily cold. He still had a warmth to him.
Oh, of course.
His capacity for empathy was limitless. His loyalty, his intellect, and his ability to problem solve from many different facets where he could be logical, but he could also be very thoughtful and very emotional. Well, still, a good example, so we just watched Time's Arrow, parts 1 and 2.
Yeah, you can maybe comment on this timeline, because I don't understand.
Okay. Well,
anyways, finish your train of thought right now.
We'll get to that part when we talk about the Guinan. But there's that scene where they go to Davidia 2, and Picard's putting together the away team, and Data is like surprised that he doesn't, and he calls Picard into the ready room, and Data's like, it's standard procedure for the second officer to come to the away team, and Picard's like, yeah, but we'll take some precautions, and they have the conversation. It's clear Picard's like, I don't want to send you down there to die. And Data has the line, is like, one cannot cheat fate. And Picard says, well, we can certainly give it a try. So that was one of those moments for Picard where he's clearly acting irrationally. I think he even says the line. He's like, well, we'll be irrational, because he's emotionally connected to Data, obviously the situation, but he still has that decisiveness and that loyalty is coming through, and that all really fit really well. That makes him who we all love, right, and admire. And a lot of those qualities aren't here.
No.
It's just the empathetic Picard. He's the softy Picard. But all that other stuff that made him so great
Well, as a role model too, like he was a huge role model yourself, I could tell, and me as well, and many other people. And I don't find any of that here. That confident self. Again, he should be driving the entire narrative. What I was hoping about this show would be, and one of the reasons why you wouldn't want the other TNG crew there, because that was an ensemble. Everyone's helping each other. And I know that he can't do things alone, but I really wanted him to drive last season and this season. And he hasn't done that at all. It's just been he's kind of fallen ass backwards in most of the case, right?
He drove a little more this year than he did last year. You're right. Last year, season 1, he was a bit ass backwards into things. This year I found like he drove more this year, but it didn't
pay off.
Matter. It didn't pay off.
No, it didn't pay off. You know, strange thing is they also didn't address that he's dead.
Yeah. It's like I'm actually just a copy in a robot body.
Yeah. Even Q didn't say anything about it.
I think he had one line where he referenced the robot body, but it was a throwaway line.
Oh, really? Because I found that was very interesting. Pretty much the entire season did not address that you're actually dead. You just have memory engrams of Picard.
You're just a personality construct. You're not actually Picard. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on, those are metaphysical questions that they should have addressed last season and didn't.
Well, they could have addressed it this year too.
Yeah, I guess they could. I mean, that's a whole season in and of itself, I suppose. I'm willing to overlook it because Star Trek's done that kind of thing before, and
I'm willing to overlook it, but Q should not have overlooked it the way you.
Yeah, well, I think maybe the showrunners for this season were like, let's just kind of pretend that didn't happen, guys, okay?
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Cool.
Yeah,
let's go.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
They're saying, that was a mistake. We shouldn't have killed them off.
It was so weird that they did that last year.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, you did what?
Yeah, and we got season 2 coming. So it's fine.
I think Star Trek leads us to believe that, because again, this isn't the first time it's happened. It's not going to be the last, that still you, like your essence is still there, whatever it is. So, okay, I guess I'm okay with it. You know, I don't love it, but I'm willing to.
We can let that go.
Yeah, I'm willing to let it go.
For the sake of conversation. I guess the question is, did this arc work for you? I know you're talking about Picard's just an empathy Picard. Now, just forget about that. We wanted to see more of Picard, the confident self, and it's just empathy. Did this arc work in terms of the character Picard and in terms of the story?
Well, okay, so are we talking about the arc with his past, with his
that's right.
parent?
Because I think that's really the main MacGuffin driving force of this story in this season.
Parts of it worked for me, mainly that I didn't expect, like they set it up to be him dealing with abuse, right, from his father. I think we always had the impression that his father was a tough man.
A tough man, but not abusive.
Yeah.
And you talked about
Patrick.
No, you didn't know. But you brought up a good point before. Patrick Stewart wanting to be Patrick Stewart. And I know you're a big Patrick Stewart fan. I'd be surprised if you did not know that there was domestic violence in the household growing up as he grew up. So his father abused his mother. He later found out, like hit her a few times or got drunk and stuff like that. And that it affected Patrick Stewart. And Patrick Stewart later, resented his dad, but later understood because his dad was a war veteran and he was suffering through PTSD or shell shock. And all of that wasn't known at that time. What is shell shock? What is PTSD? And so he drank and drank and drank, and that's to deal with it. And that's what caused the domestic violence. It's not an excuse. I'm not trying to make it an excuse. But I think that's the reason why Patrick Stewart wanted to tell this kind of story.
Yeah,
it's almost like therapy for him.
And I'm fine with that. Like, the show's called Star Trek Picard, so presumably it's going to be a character piece, and we're going to learn things about Picard. So I mean, I didn't really need commentary, or I don't know what the general views are about it from the. I don't really care about Star Trek fandom because Star Trek fans are people. It's a.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are human beings.
Very.
And they have opinions. So I was okay with it, because that's originally how it was playing out, is that it was going to be a story of abuse, when in reality it wasn't that. It was a mental wellness story. Like, his mother was unwell. His father didn't.
Gaius Baltar.
Yeah, Gaius Baltar.
By the way.
Which was a lovely twist. by the way. I looked at him, I'm like, God damn, is that guy's Baltar? Like,
he looks so familiar. I did not recognize him at first.
Me too. I'm like, I know him. And at first I'm like, oh, guy's Baltar. I'm like, no, they wouldn't do that. I'm like, no, that's totally him. And obviously that's him. I love that. That's the twist, that he's Picard's dad. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love that.
So Picard is a Cylon, is what you're saying.
Yeah, he's a Cylon.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he is a robot. He is a Cylon.
There you go.
Which I thought was a fun twist. I really like him as an actor. Anyway, and I love Battlestar. Battlestar's great. But what it turns out, because he's a child, right, he didn't understand what was going on. You wouldn't understand mental illness when you're that age, right? So
does Hollywood even understand mental illness?
No.
Are they capable? No, they don't. So that was another problem I have too.
Well, I mean, there's certainly enough mental illness in Hollywood. You'd think they'd understand it. I don't know. I thought they treated it fine. It might have been a bit extreme, like he finds his mother's body if she's hanged herself in that atrium there. I was fine with that arc. I thought they did a reasonable job with it. But at the same time, I'm like, well, if this was a TNG episode, they would have wrapped this up in 43 minutes.
Yes.
You know, like it dragged on.
It dragged. It dragged. Oh my God,
Yeah.
it dragged. And that whole episode with Gaius Baltar, there was like 1 or 2 episodes, right?
Yeah, he was there a couple.
in his mind, but in the dungeon of the house, and the tunnels and all that. Oh my God, that dragged on for
the whole series, this whole 10 episode season, that's a 2-parter on TNG at most, right?
No, not even.
I mean, I was going to say, like, okay, this whole season, that's an episode. That's 43 minutes of TNG. And I'm like, well, there's a lot there. Maybe a 2-parter.
If you're including the time travel and the Borg?
Yeah, no, I'm including everything. You could do all of that. That's a 2-part. And so, but I think that, like, that kind of diminishes it because it dilutes it. Because we kept seeing the same things over and over again with the storyline with his mother and stuff. And I don't know that we got a good emotional connection to his mother. I don't know that I felt a more emotional connection with his father, almost because he wasn't in it so much. We just got a few moments with him, but he did a really good job. So felt that connection there. And I was also wondering, where's his brother?
That's the other thing I was going to bring up. Let me jump in. So I appreciate story, and I appreciate if this is Patrick Stewart saying, hey, I want a vehicle where I want to explore this because maybe he's got some bins in the closet. That's fine. But you have to be true to the character. We've already established part of the family struggles that he's had is that he wanted to be an explorer. He was looking to the stars, right? That you have a great episode of family. You have, and then the brother sides with the father. And it would have been interesting and nice, and they started it off this way, how the mom was the supportive one. Look to the stars. And I wish they crafted a story more around, even though it was already explored in family, I think that they could have crafted a story just with that. And that's why there was such a huge problem with his brother, right? You know, like you could have done a more deep exploration on the family trauma and how it could have divided the family and caused some struggles between the father and the mother as a result, and that's another reason why he couldn't forge a relationship. Instead of this, my mom hanged herself. And that fits more in line with because it's only briefly touched on, very, very briefly, even though it was masterfully done in the episode of Family, when he goes back to visit his brother and the nephew. But I thought that's my instinct. I'm writing the show, someone throws this shit in front of me. Why aren't we doing this?
Here's the reason why they're not doing that, though. I get what you're saying, but they did it in that episode, and it was...
But not about the struggles between the mom and the dad.
But but like just with the brother.
With the brother,
They needed to like they did that, and it was perfect.
I know, but then this to me now makes all of that almost meaningless now too. That impacts the episode.
It certainly makes less sense. Like, where is his brother? Because his brother's older, right? Where is he?
Doesn't exist. He burned to death in the fire.
Yeah.
Burned to death in the fire. These things happen, Jeff.
Which fire again? Like, there was burn evidence at the estate. Was there not? I don't know. It doesn't matter. They did a lot of things in this season. Like, the writers are aware of Star Trek's past. We know that because they reference several times other things, and other times it's like, didn't you guys watch the show?
Exactly.
Right. It's like in Galaxy Quest when Sam Rockwell is like, did you guys ever watch the show?
Yeah. I'm not happy with this story. I feel it just isn't necessary. If they wanted to tell a trauma story about relationships, I really don't think that they should have gone back. I mean, I know that makes a lot of sense if you're talking about trauma. Usually is when you're a child and how it impacts your life. It's not that doesn't make sense. I just felt that, as you said, there was already that story and that piece of how Picard is with his family, and that you didn't need to add this other unnecessary layer. I felt it wasn't necessary.
And we can move on after this, I'm fine that they wanted to do this. I'm totally okay with it. If they had done a better job, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Or rather, the conversation we'd be having was, man, they did a good job with that. And we wouldn't be talking about it's irrelevant, or you could have done that, this, that, whatever. It doesn't make sense. The reason we're having that conversation is because
it didn't do it justice.
They didn't hit it. They didn't hit it at all.
No,
it just was all it's like, okay,
it's understood. But Star Trek also, talks about problems. They dive deep into certain things. And they didn't dive deep into mental illness or any of that here.
Well,
it's just like, she's got problems, she got locked up, and then I let her out, she hung herself, and now I don't like having, I have trouble foraging. Pretty much that's the end of, there's no exploration of anything.
I don't know, man. I think, I hear what you're saying. I think they encourage a little more reading between the lines. Like that's not exactly what they said. It's what they implied. One of the problems of the season is kind of part of what you just said, where you're like, Star Trek deals with things like this, right? Lots of things like this, lots of other things. But part of the whole point of Star Trek, the genesis of it from the beginning, was we take things that are hard to talk about. Whether in the 60s it was hard to talk about because you couldn't talk about it straight out. Whether racism or
they had to beat around the bush.
Economics, you had to do the sci-fi lens in order to talk about it, because otherwise the censors wouldn't put it on TV. The network wouldn't agree to put it on TV.
That's right.
So you had to do this. You had to do it through a science fiction lens. But that was a good thing because that's why it's so good, right?
Yeah.
TNG, same thing. You got a little bit more latitude because you can put more things on TV.
No, but they kept the same thing.
That's right.
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do because it's
an allegory. Otherwise, it's just
right.
You're slapping me in the face with it.
Yeah,
right?
you're just slapping me in the face with it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the other series. We don't need to, but that's kind of what Star Trek does. Is it's like takes this thing and it tells a science fiction story, so that you can kind of get out of your head over it and experience this cool sci-fi story.
And then make you think about some other things, yeah.
It does a good job of helping you to examine things from a different angle that you wouldn't have thought of before, because if you just do it straight out, it's just straight out. So that means that you're going to have the same viewpoint of it before you watched it than after. It's straight at you. Whereas the sci-fi lens, it brings you in and it kind of hits you from the side when you're not expecting.
Exactly, but they're not coming in from the side. No,
well, it's not a Star Trek story. It's not a sci-fi. Admittedly, a sad story. It's not too poignant because of how they tell it. It's a sad story of a boy who loves his mother. His mother has a mental illness that he doesn't understand because he's not old enough. He doesn't get it because he can't comprehend that stuff. And so these things that happen to him, that it's very scary, it's very frightening, and he can't understand it because he doesn't have the capacity to do so. His father's distant, so his father can't help his son understand it, so he can't deal with that trauma, so he kind of suppresses it a little bit. All of this is good stuff. This is good, real world things that people have to deal with. But when you just shoot it straight in the bullseye, it doesn't resonate with any of us. Because we're like, yeah, duh, trauma. She hanged herself in front of him. Of course, that'd be traumatic. Who gives a shit? They didn't do the sci-fi thing where they can take it and hit you sideways with it, and then it's really poignant, which is what Star Trek has always been good at.
Exactly. So what this was, it's just sappy melodrama. Essentially, it's like a soap opera. It's soap opera. Yeah, essentially, they've turned this. What Picard went through here is a soap opera. It's what you'd find on some...
Well, yeah, I mean, she didn't come back to life and he didn't have amnesia and an evil twin brother, but...
There's always season 3, Jeff.
It didn't quite get to... He's his own evil twin brother. Yeah. So he's his own evil android twin brother now.
Yes.
Which, shit, they should just do that.
Yes, that's what they should do.
Or a version of Picard. Wouldn't that be great if, like, in season 3, real Picard comes back because he's not actually dead, and this is like the lore version of Picard we were watching in season 2, and then we can get a real Star Trek nemesis where he has to actually fight his evil twin? Wouldn't that be something?
I'd be all up for that.
Into that,
Make it happen. I don't want to talk about the storyline anymore, but I do want to point out that I'm not saying Picard would not have trouble forging relationships, but I think the show did a good job onto why, because of who he was as a person. Like, he's also the captain, so he had to kind of be, not in charge is not the right word, but he couldn't be compromised. There was an episode where he had that girlfriend, Flute, and once he was with her...
Commander Darren.
Yeah, Commander Darren. And you also forget that he lived a whole life in the Inner Light episode.
Yep.
With a family.
Yep.
So I find that they went down a path, it's like just you said, did they not watch the show? And it's like, he's saying, because he has no answers. Guiding straight up and says, why can't you, what's the problem? He goes, oh. He can't even say, I don't even know. He's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of odd. That's all I wanted to say. I wasn't a fan of any of this. Because the main thing is, it didn't also give me any real great new insight into the character. This, again, it felt like it's just an exercise for Patrick Stewart to do something that he wanted.
And that's certainly true. I'm not gonna blame him for that. Like, he's like, hey, I'm on the show. Like, if you want me on the show, which obviously they do, and he's saying, like, okay, here's some of the things I want to explore. Also fine, like, it's Patrick Stewart. He's going to do the if he's not going to do the show otherwise, we'll explore the things he wants to explore. Totally fine. But these aren't hard, these are meaty things that a good writer can sink their teeth into and turn into a good story.
Yes.
You can do it.
Yes,
I just don't know why they struggle so much with it,
No. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about the other characters and what they went through. I want to save Agnes for last. Let's talk about Seven and Raffi in their arc or their scenes from beginning to end.
Sure.
So they obviously start off a little estranged in their relationship. So I think Seven's still the Ranger at the beginning of this one, right?
Yeah, that's right. I think they referenced she tried to come back to Starfleet or go to Starfleet, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, because they said they don't allow Borg into Starfleet because there was that scare, even though wasn't there a previous Borg Starfleet person in season 1? The eye ripped out?
Yeah, because he was for fans of Star Trek Voyager, he was one of the Borg children they rescued. Mm-hmm. And so he joined Starfleet and suffered a horrific end in Picard season 1.
Mm-hmm. So they seem to have forgot that little point in season 1, but that's okay. And then throughout the season, this season, so Raffi's really, really affected by Elnor's death. And I'm going to say this right now, when Elnor died at the beginning, even though I knew he'd come back at the end because it's all time travel, I did the biggest fist pump I've ever done in my life when Elnor fucking died.
Yeah. Dime Store Orlando Bloom should never have been on this show in the first place. He was a real waste of skin.
Yes.
And I feel bad for that kid. Yeah.
So do I. Yeah, so do I.
It's like, because it's like they basically acknowledge that he sucked.
Yeah, they Rose Tico'd him.
Yeah.
They Jar Jar'd him.
They worse than Jar Jar'd him, man. They worse than roast him. I don't know, I'm trying to think of the right analogy, but brutal. Poor guy.
Brutal. Again, don't feel too bad about him.
He was the Sean Bean of the Star Trek universe.
No, don't give him that kind of credit.
He didn't suffer that kind of death.
No.
Sean Bean would die a much better death.
Yeah, I wish Sean Bean was just in the show, and it was called Star Trek Sean Bean. And that would be fucking awesome.
It'd only be one episode long because he'd get killed right away. Yes.
That's right.
I'd watch that episode.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so what'd you think? So then while they're dealing with the Agnes situation as the Borg, I think they're kind of mending their relationship, and I think at the end they're okay. I think they kind of said that they're kind of good, and it kind of ends there, right?
We're talking about Seven and Raffi. Yeah, man, I think they thought at the end of season 1 there that Seven and Raffi had chemistry.
And they don't.
Then they knew they didn't. They couldn't even pretend that there was chemistry there. And it's a real shame because individually, I love Jerry Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Ryan's still a fucking comet, man. She looks great. And she's actually a very good actor.
I'm not a fan of the other one.
When you go back and watch Voyager, Jerry Ryan's lights out. And considering why they brought her on to the show wasn't for her acting chops. But
Voyager or here?
And Voyager. They didn't bring her on to Voyager for her acting chops.
For sure.
But she was lights out on that show. I love Jerry Ryan.
She was awesome.
And she's still killing it.
Yep.
And I like Raffi as well. I don't know her name. I don't know her real name.
Michelle Hurd.
Michelle Hurd. I liked her in season 1. You know, she's not shooting the lights out or anything, but I liked her quite a bit. So I liked both of them individually. No chemistry. Zero chemistry together. So they didn't even really play up the fact that they had become a couple.
They were almost like it. The show was, strangely enough, embarrassed to admit that they were.
Yeah. Why? I don't know. Get it. Didn't make any sense. Like same-sex relationships, especially on like a streaming service or cable, like same-sex relationships, guys, are old news. Yep. So you don't need to be embarrassed for it, but yeah, it did not work at all. It's a real shame because again, like I like both of them. I think that they're both really good, and the material they were given was really substandard, and it's a real shame. Yeah,
it was bad. They had nothing. So I think we agree on that. I don't want to.
We do, and not to belabor the point, but it was such a delight. In season 1, I remember like a Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and I'd gone to a pub with Carly and Nathan. I think it was the first full trailer for Picard season 1 had dropped. And there's Jerry Ryan in that trailer. I didn't know, like that was the reveal that she was going to be in the show. I was like, wow, like what a bold choice. So happy that we get to see 7 and 9 again. And like when she was announced series regular for season 2, I'm like, okay, like I'm all in for this. It was such a great choice. I loved it. And what a waste.
Complete waste.
Yeah, what a waste.
A complete waste of both. I'm not saying Michelle Hurd is a bad actor. I'm just not a fan of the character. So, But again, that's because they've given her nothing.
No,
just cries over Elnor, and that's
were they even friends?
They tried to make us think they were.
Screen between seasons? Because I was like, why is she so... I mean, it's a guy you know, sure, you're not happy that he got shot, but...
It's all for Elnor. We gotta do it for Elnor, Jeff.
I'll pour out some Romulan ale for Elnor.
No.
Fucking trash.
I'm not wasting a drop of anything. Well, it's a drop of my piss. That's what we get for it.
Oof, yikes. It's not that bad. I don't want to disrespect the guy for that.
You don't worry. He got paid well, I'm sure.
Well, shit, I hope so. Just strange. Like, they were like, well, we don't have anything for you, dude, so we're just going to kill you off in this second episode.
This
is just weird. He just shouldn't have been in the... I don't know why they made him a character in the first season. Anyway.
No, and then he comes back as a hologram, and he's essentially... You know how they made a distinction in season 1 that Rios had all these different holograms that weren't Rios?
No, but they were just copies. Yeah, because he ran the ship by himself.
That's right.
But because his crew was all holographic.
That's right. So they throw this actor a bone, and they say, okay, we want Elnor to come back for an action scene. Let's make him a hologram. But he specifically has every single personality of Elnor. It's like,
of course he does.
Yeah, but it's stupid. You can make him look like it. It's brutal. Well, so stupid. Oh my God.
I was watching that and I was just like, well, how come there's only one of them? He's got the situation locked down. Why didn't they do this before? You just have like 10 Space Legolas holograms with phasers and like why is he even bothering to dodge and hide? Because he was hiding, he's doing the like why? He's a hologram. Just blink out, blink in, shoot guy. Like, it was so dumb. It's like they don't even know the rules. They don't even know their own rules. No. He's a hologram.
Yeah, and then he specifically goes and picks the weapon, and he says, oh, the sword, and he starts playing with it.
He did the Pulp Fiction thing.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis Pulp Fiction thing. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It was
you don't need to do that when you're a hologram.
No.
It was ridiculous.
I was laughing when he showed up again as a hologram. I had some good laughs. Good belly laughs. Great.
It's like they don't even, not good ones though. Like good ones, but not good ones.
No. Well, I'll say this. So my sister visited from London, and I was waiting for her to come back because I knew Q was on the show. So she loves. I think I said she used to love TNG, and she loves Q. So I said, okay, I'm gonna wait instead of me watching. I'll wait for her. So we binged the first 7 episodes, and then she had to take off back to London, and she didn't watch the rest. She just read what happened after.
Yeah,
so
I'm good.
Yeah. So, anyways, okay, let's talk now about Rios. We can make this real quick. They just wanted to get rid of that character. Holy shit. It's like we got nothing for him to do. He's just a useless character. And they know, I'm assuming, when they were, because of that delay, and they filmed season 2 and 3 back to back. Yeah. We'll talk about season 3. So they knew that he had nothing, and he wasn't going to return. But geez, I don't know. That just seems disrespectful for a character that they created. I'm just going to stay back, guys. Bye. It's like Poochie.
Well,
they Poochied him.
Yeah, they did Poochie him. They Poochied him. They kind of Poochied. I'm assuming they're going to Poochie all of them, but I guess that just. And I was fine with Rios in season 1. The idea of that character is fine.
What's with the cigar smoking on the bridge?
Well,
now, once his own ship is fine. He's now captain of the Stargazer. He never lights it, but he's got the cigar ready to go at any time.
I don't know. I guess I'm not sure. It didn't bother me too much. I mean, I think one of the things the show was trying to do is let's Starfleet. They're so buttoned down and anal. Let's loosen them up a little bit. Lower decks just a little bit.
Can I just say something though? So you remember that DS9 episode where Torque goes back. And goes back in time and to Roswell, and he says, these guys actually inhale smoke, and he's excited about it because he can make money, right? But he says, what kind of race would on purpose want to poison themselves? So Star Trek's always been about that optimistic future of humanity. I don't want to make a comment that people who smoke or vape do weed or people or anything like that, but I feel that Star Trek's always been that light to show the guidance of, being a role model and what humanity can become. Because it is stupid that people smoke and are addicted to it. I can understand why they get addicted to it because it's an addictive substance, but...
Says the two guys just brushing whiskey right now on this podcast.
What? I've got pineapple.
Oh, it's healthy.
The milligrams of vitamin C that are leaching into my sea right now. Balance the scales, baby.
But we've already said many times we're not Starfleet material, so...
Oh, we're not Starfleet material.
So...
No, it's an odd choice.
You know what I mean? You know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and you're right.
But what does that say about Hollywood and society today? It's not just that they don't understand Star Trek. Let's preach. They need to have someone who's smoking a cigar so people can watch the show and say, I relate to this guy.
I think the answer's somewhere in between and might maybe a little bit more complex. Here's my viewpoint. I've got a couple of things that I'll say about it, and maybe they come together, maybe they don't. But one is that the Picard show is their attempt to make a contemporary adult show that's set in the Star Trek universe, right? So it has the elements of that, for better or worse. Whether it works or not is a different conversation, but that's their attempt, right? Is they're trying to make that type of show with Star Trek characters in the Star Trek universe, right? So when you're doing that, and they touched on this in the first season as well, is sure when we watch the original series and watch TNG, they sell us on the idyllic, perfect paradise that Earth and humanity, that Earth is becoming, humanity occupies. They're all great. And they did this on Deep Space Nine, you referenced Quark saying, who would do that, right? But Quark is also the person on Deep Space Nine who's something kind of stinks here. He has the root beer analogy, which is one of the great moments in all of Star Trek history. Right?
Great scene.
Great scene.
I love it.
But they hint at the idea on Deep Space Nine that, that's what Starfleet and the Federation sort of sells, but it might not be true for everybody. Mm-hmm. And in Picard, we get a little bit more of that. When in season 1, Picard first goes to Raffi, she's living in a trailer in the desert, basically. And she's like, yeah, good for you. You've got your vineyard that you could go retire to. This is all I have here. There's more underneath it. The Deep Space Nine and Picard are hinting at the fact that, all of that's kind of true, but it's a little more complicated. There are other things happening. Every single person is it's not a homogenous thing where everybody does everything perfectly all the time. We still have criminals.
That's the difference between good writing and bad writing.
No,
one second.
It's not the difference between good writing and bad writing. It's the difference between what do we think actually makes sense for it. You can good write and bad write anything, but what these shows are saying is I guess to finish my thought is these shows Deep Space Nine already hints at it, and then Picard kind of ran with it as there are some wrinkles here. And part of that is, you were saying, it's just Hollywood and people need that. That's not exactly the case, but audiences are more sophisticated now. Storytelling, especially on TV, is a lot more sophisticated now. So I just don't think that And rightly so. I don't think people are going to buy that. Like, we need a little more context for this perfect utopia. Because things happen. And things have always happened on Star Trek. When they say it's the perfect utopia, it's never the perfect utopia.
Well, see, here's
it's never been.
Here's the thing.
There are other things going on.
I hear you. There are other things going. But that root beer analogy that you talked about, that whole one-on-one between Quark and Garrick there, and Quark was saying it's insidious.
Yeah.
Assimilating to the Federation's ideals and their culture. You know, they're making that commentary. It's just like the U.S. Like, the world relies on the U.S. to protect, in a sense. So, but they do it by preaching their ideals as the right way, and it's insidious, but you can't live without it. That's brilliant writing. And it's not like it's comparing apples to apples here, but we're talking about modern TV. This is the beef I have. It's just like, I've got to have a cigar-smoking, cigar-chewing guy on the bridge, a tobacco-chewing guy who's going to be spitting in a can, and that's supposed to tell me that now I'm relevant. I'm more relevant than I was before. But I don't like that. That's how I feel when I see something like that.
Well, that's fine. But here's what I think they're actually saying. And maybe you and I are both doing the show's work for it. But we knew that Rios had previously washed out, right? Of Starfleet. So he, perhaps, at least for a part of his life, just didn't turn out to be Starfleet material. He had his own ship. So in the first season, they were given that roguish quality, the cigar, the idiosyncratic holograms that he made versions of himself that he's a strange dude. The idea then so what we need to reconcile is, at the end of it all, is they saved civilization as they know it, once again, is Starfleet's like, you know what? We kind of wouldn't mind if we'd like you back. So he's like, okay, well, I'm not perfect. I like to smoke cigars, and I like to drink whiskey, and I like to do this other stuff. And so in the idealism of Starfleet is like, we could accept somebody who isn't perfect into the fold, because infinite diversity and infinite combinations includes people who aren't perfect.
I agree.
People in Star Trek drink whiskey.
Of course, you're missing the point. You're missing no. So Jeff, you're missing my point. I'm okay if he smokes a cigar in his quarters. Why is he smoking on the bridge? What I don't like about modern Star Trek is that Star Trek, whether it's the original series, TNG, DS9, even though they had their fun private moments, it was still run like a military organization formally. You had a certain chain of command. You had a certain way of doing things. You had regulations. I find modern Star Trek, this goes to either the Kelvin universe, Star Trek Discovery, or Picard. It's completely informal. There's no regard for protocol. There's no regard for regulations. And to me, I'm not going to say it's a farce, but I can't take it seriously when they do this kind of shit. And this is a lesser offense, Rios having the cigar on the bridge in the captain's chair. There's other worse offenses going on in modern Star Trek. But my point is, I find that we've lost track of the fact that Starfleet still is, even though it's on a mission of peace and exploration, it still is a military organization. And there's regulations. I can't take the show seriously if they do this kind of shit. So what they do is they sacrifice verisimilitude in favor of making this guy rogue. And you could do the same thing. You want to make him more roguish and like Han Solo, have a scene of him within his quarters smoking up a cigar. I'm all for that. But why on the bridge?
Just to make it a little less stiff, like for better or worse. They're trying to make it a little.
But that's shorthand that I don't like.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, you're right. It is shorthand, and that's why they're doing it, because they don't want to take the time to shoot that scene that you're talking about.
But they don't even need to have him not have the fucking cigar on the bridge and have him say "I love cigars" when he's on Earth.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Right?
I mean, I don't know.
You know what I mean? It's weird. These are weird choices that they make, man. I don't get it. I don't understand.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I get it. Whether it's a good choice or not, I mean, I don't care too much about. I mean, if the guy was smoking a crack pipe on the bridge.
Okay, well, hold on.
Let's hold
so
up
we're
here,
watching.
boys.
So you're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs, right? This is I find very troubling. You know, we love Star Trek. We want to relate to our characters. We want to be hopeful. We want role models. I'm not saying someone who smokes can't be a role model, but I find it very strange. So we're watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. And what do you see on the ads consistently and even all through gambling? Gambling. It's not just the ads. Even in the sports segments, when they're talking about it, they split away to talk about the betting averages on the games. Yeah. This is fucking bizarre.
Yeah, it is bizarre.
It is completely bizarre. I don't know how this got approved, and I don't know what's going on.
There must be a new law or something, right? Because I've never seen this before.
No, but this is troubling. This is not good. And now you talk about what makes characters relatable in Star Trek. Optimistic, hopeful series where I see Rappy's vaping. This guy's smoking cigars.
That's right. She does vape, doesn't she?
So, I mean, like, what's really going on here? I don't get it. This is a completely separate topic. It plagues any TV show, anything today. It's not wholesome. And I don't want to be the fuddy-duddy saying that, you can't have this kind of shit.
You don't want to be, but you are.
Oh, fuck you. You know I'm not like that. But anyways, you know where I'm coming from.
Well, I do. And, part of me is just like devil's advocate just because it's good for the show.
Right, but I didn't need that shit. I didn't need that shit to have someone be my role model. Oh, he's very adult. Or she's very adult.
I
guess doing these taboo things. We looked at our heroes growing up, and Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever you want to call it. The majority of our heroes were more of archetype, and in Star Trek they were more of the people you want to inspire to be. I mean, that's the great thing about Superman. And we're going to get into a complete segue, so maybe we should completely revert back to talking about the season. But I just find this disturbing. You talk about moving towards the future.
How much ass did Captain Kirk tap back in the day? Like, how much extramarital sex did he have?
That's
different. No, if you want to talk about like morality or decency or all of that stuff, I mean, what line are we allowed to cross or not? I kind of think that's kind of the heart of the matter is that, and Star Trek struggles with this, and part of what's great about Star Trek is that they're able to ask some of these questions, especially as the series kind of wear on, right? It's like morality in the 60s. Okay, nobody was smoking on the bridge or anywhere. There was no smoking. There was drinking. And there was definitely fraternizing with the opposite sex in the original Star Trek. Outside of marriage. Nobody was married.
In any of the shows.
People were tapping, right?
Yeah, in any of the shows.
People were getting down. Yeah, nobody was ever married. People were getting down all the time.
Riker was getting down too.
Riker
did the crew.
Was a syphilis outbreak, a walking syphilis outbreak, right?
That's right.
But they're gambling, and they're not gambling with real money, but, they're drinking, you know what I mean? Like, okay, they're not doing it on the bridge, like we used to smoke a cigar on the bridge, okay? Granted, probably outside of protocol, sure. But what else is outside of protocol? Well, Ensign Rowe wearing her Bajoran earring on the bridge was also outside of protocol, right? Is it okay because it's not a vice? So that's not a protocol. It was respect for her culture, so they let her do it. Like, I think there's a lot of examples there where we could say, like, are they supposed to be role models? I don't know. I think they're supposed to be examples of, like, listen, we understand that people are people and they're real and they have their foibles, they have their vices, but we can still be the ideal. We can still be the ideal versions of ourselves, and sometimes we slip, sometimes we struggle. That's Superman.
That is. But then show that in a character study of the character when he's not on duty. I don't know.
Look at all of Barclay's problems when he's on duty. What I'm saying is, like Barclay snuck off to the holodeck to jerk off into holograms, but like they didn't drum him out of Starfleet, right? Like
but he's not doing it on the bridge either.
No, but he's doing it on duty.
But he was reprimanded for it.
Well, but he wasn't really reprimanded for it. You know what his reprimand was? His reprimand was, you have to be friends with Geordie LaForge. That was his reprimand. Like, who wouldn't want to be friends with Geordie LaForge? Well, yeah, poor Geordie. But that was his punishment. Like, what I'm saying is that I think now with, part of what you're saying is correct. It's like, modern TV, they got to do this shit. But it's like, I think audiences now, it helps people to see now. It's like, it's easier. You can see yourself in there. This is what's good about Star Trek. Like, I can see myself on there. I'm not a total dirtbag because I like to drink whiskey. Or I'm not a total dirtbag because I enjoy cigars. Or I'm not a total dirtbag because I fucking vape. Like, I can still be the commander of a starship. Or, like, I can still be better. Like, I can see the journey here. And again, we're doing the show's work for it here, and it's probably not that warranted. But, like, I don't think it's wrong for them to show these types of humans that are more like us. And showing like, yeah, they're like you. And not only are they like you, but they're not racist douchebags. They have empathy. They can consider other points of view and still enjoy, like, you don't have to assimilate. You don't have to drink the root beer. You can have your cigar and still be fucking awesome. And, like, I think that's a good thing. Like, that's not so stiff.
That's fine. I'm okay with that message, Jeff. I think I just wish it was shown differently instead of, I don't know. I think we've talked enough about it. I just wish it was shown differently. But thematically, what you're saying is great. And I'm all for that. I just wish it wasn't in your face like the way they...
Yeah, I mean, that's the storytelling is in the... Yeah.
Let's wrap Rios up. He had nothing to do. They wanted to talk about immigration very briefly.
Okay.
And then they drop it. And then he says, this place is great. I want to stay. I dig the wife and kid. And this place is for me. And he stays behind. They get rid of the character. So all of that. Anything you want to talk?
I actually like Rios. I like his character.
So do I.
Fine with the actor. Good with the actor.
He's actually my favorite out of anyone on this show.
Me too. I was fine with his arc here, with him deciding to stay behind. I was fine with it. But the fuck episode where he gets rolled up by immigration was the worst Star Trek episode in history.
Code of Honor could still take the cake. Is it really worse than Up the Long Ladder?
Yes, it's worse than Up the Long Ladder. Code of Honor, Code of Honor's got the crown and will never relinquish. But let's unpack that episode, real. So he beams in a la Kyle Reese, falls into an alley, gets injured, and he goes to that clinic. And so ICE rolls him up. He gets thrown into a cage on a bus. Away he goes. All right. So the show was saying, hey guys, immigration and customs enforcement are a bunch of assholes. And I'm going, no shit. Anybody who's watching this show is a Star Trek fan. And Star Trek fans aren't Republicans. So yeah, everybody thinks, yeah, these guys are assholes. Great. Thanks for the fucking newsflash. So what happens in this episode, Harry? Picard and... Who's Picard hanging out with? Was it Girardi in this episode? Anyway.
All I know is around this time, that's when he has a breakdown.
Okay. What happens... So Seven and what's her name get in a SUV. They steal the cop car because the transporter's not working, and they're chasing the immigration bus to get Rios back because it's bad that he's going to get deported. And then they get stopped eventually, and then the transporters work. Because you were like, how did he escape again? Well, they beam out and they beam to the bus and they get him out of the bus.
And they beam back to the ship.
Right.
Or something.
So that whole episode of them chasing him was pointless. All they need, literally, if they had done nothing. If they had just sat in the ship, literally done zero things. They could have sat in the ship and stared into space for 45 minutes. The outcome of the episode would have been exactly the same because the transporter eventually gets fixed and they get beamed out there and they can save Rios. That was a whole episode of this 10 episode. This was 10% of this season was them doing something that had absolutely no point whatsoever.
No point. And
it was a whole lot of horseshit.
Yes. And you're not really saying anything.
No. They said nothing.
Because I want to make a statement. I mean, I don't exactly agree with what you said about Republicans and the rules. I think Republicans can like Star Trek too. I don't think that's a Star Trek thing to say, but let's move on. I just don't think that they had anything to say here except immigration bad and that's it. Immigration good and deportation bad. And ICE bad.
ICE bad.
And Trump bad. Yes. That was a point on the chalkboard in the writer's room. Wall, yes. Trump, let's make a statement on that, and they concocted an episode to say this.
And what a deft job they did at it.
Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah, like no kidding, guys. Like, thanks for the fucking newsflash. Good job. Real good job.
It was terrible. While you're on that, because we already talked about Raffi 7, they didn't spend an episode on it, but then they also talked about, because Guinan's also talking about, this place sucks. Humanity sucks. They talk about, here's homelessness in LA, which is a big problem. Not just in LA, Seattle, other places, anywhere, everywhere. But they say, look, it's bad. Our future's good. We're going to take care of this shit. But they're not talking about it. That's not Star Trek.
No.
So that's bad. Yeah.
Yep. They've already done this better in several episodes. Well, at least in one in particular, the Deep Space Nine.
The Bell Riots.
Yes. So thanks. We've already covered this.
Yes, And it's fucking ridiculous. I don't understand. It baffles my mind if you're saying these are good writers. Like we talked about, isn't Michael Chabon still here?
No.
No?
No. He was the showrunner for season 1. He was around I think he was around when they kind of like generally broke season 2, but then he departed to do his own thing. So different showrunner.
I can see why he departed, because this is garbage.
Yeah, well, it's not good.
No. Well, you're not saying anything. You're pointing out,
no,
look,
right.
That's bad. Our future's good. We're going to fix it. What's your statement? What are you doing with it?
They're just pointing at things.
Yeah, they're pointing. Look!
Yeah. Look bad. Like, yeah,
look bad.
We know. What are we going to do about it? Because we're all fucking confused right now.
There's no allegory. It's like, as you said, Republicans created this problem. That's bad. But this is Hollywood, which is completely liberal, saying, look, this is bad. We know how to fix it, but they don't say anything about it. Hollywood.
Yeah, that's it. And it's funny, like, because you're right, like, Hollywood is generally perceived to be very liberal, but it's also a bunch of rich white guys. So, like, yeah.
There's no understanding of the subject matter, so that's the problem.
Exactly. They're just like, well, why can't you just not be that thing? It's like, well, it's easy for you to say, man, because you're rich and white.
Yeah.
Like, what are your fucking solutions, dude? Like, you're the one lobbying to pay no taxes, so, like, you've got, how many Cayman Islands accounts? Like, fuck you, dude. Like, what's your fucking solution? They don't have any, because they don't.
Well, they don't have to give me a solution, but then at least concoct a story where it's worth saying, pointing this out. Or give me the allegory saying there's a sci-fi lens to this, as you've said. So,
that's right.
But now I'm in real Earth seeing what I'm seeing outside of downtown of my own city, and it's like, okay, thanks. So what's the point? So anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough of Rios. Let's get into what, in my opinion, is my favorite aspect of the show, or at least part of it, is Agnes. So finally, Alison Pill's given something slightly more enjoyable to do instead of killing what's-his-face. And then throwing up.
Yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah, she just straight murdered.
Yeah.
Fuck is that guy's name?
The guy who wanted to try Data. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, or just take Data. Yeah.
Maddox.
Yeah.
Bruce Maddox. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she just straight murdered Maddox. But it's cool.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
And I'm okay with her not going to prison or anything like that, because the future's all about rehabilitation.
Yes, I agree. I mean,
no, but I did
Paris to prison for what? Nothing. She murdered a dude in cold blood. She doesn't have to go to like
how they got around that?
Or something.
Do you know how they got around that? They said essentially I pleaded not mental illness but insanity. And I got off.
They don't try to rehabilitate her.
I think they did, saying she had to go through something and because of killing Maddox. She was talking to the guy who was hitting on her. She wasn't having any of it, saying, I'm messed up, I had to go through all this crap, and no, I'm not interested.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they didn't do a good job with her.
Oh, through the whole show?
No, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that their rehabilitation didn't take.
No, she still has some psychotic...
she's got some issues.
Yes, but I did enjoy the Borg Queen, surprisingly.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, she did a really good job. She made me forget about Alice Krieg. For me, that's the Borg Queen.
That's the Borg Queen, yeah.
So when I see someone else playing the role, and I'm assuming you agree the Borg Queen can be a different body. You jump.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever you want. So
I'm fine.
That fits into canon. I'm okay with that. So we have a new person playing the Borg Queen, but she did a really good job.
I liked her.
She was probably the strength of the season, surprisingly.
She was at least put the most
effort.
She chewed up the scenery, like she was given it.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. She did the most with not a lot. Yeah, she was good. I liked her quite a bit.
Okay. So tell me, Agnes, she ends up as merging with the Borg Queen. She gives a Kirk/Picardian speech about we can be better. Let's merge. Let's, I love that part. That's very Star Trek. Let's do one better and generate a new Borg. Because what you perceive as weakness, it's actually a strength, humanity and individuality. Let's do something different, and then they go off. So what do you think about that whole storyline and how it started, the middle, that whole, I need some batteries, car batteries, and then that Borg fight, which was terrible, by the way, at the ship, like leading, I think I was at episode 8 or episode 9, they had to finish off all the Borg that she assimilated.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Not shot that great, yeah.
Oh, those action scenes were shot terribly. Ooh, terrible.
Like you said, budget. Oh, man. But anyways, what'd you think of her arc? Well, I'm kind of mixed. I mean, the character, like Girardi, the character is not, it's not my favorite. And I like Alison Pill quite a bit and other things that I've seen her in. she's pretty solid. She was kind of up and down for me. Like, there were good scenes and not so good scenes. I love the Borg Queen. Was good. It's kind of strange, right? That, like, the Picard speech they gave to Alison Pill. And I was a little like, oh, well.
Shouldn't that have been Picard saying
Shouldn't that have
this?
been Picard? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and especially because it's dealing with the Borg.
Yeah, exactly.
You would think that that's Picard should be doing with this, right?
It's like, oh, okay, she inspired by Picard, but then I'm doing the show's work for it, and I didn't quite get her motivation for allowing the Borg Queen to merge with her and all of that.
Wasn't it to save that guy or something?
Yeah, the sheriff or the deputy or whatever, and the whole thing. It's like, okay, I guess. Like, it sort of fits with Star Trek type motivation, and it was okay. It just didn't hit for me. I mean, there's so much going on in the season for 10 episodes, and this just didn't do it for me. And they're like, okay, well, so fuck you, we're going to strand you in the past, they're going to make a deal, and you're going to be stranded in the past, and I'm going to go make a Borg thing. I was like, what?
So can I ask a question from a Star Trek timeline canon perspective?
Yes. Please do.
So one is the time arrow with Guinan not remembering anything unless she was feigning the whole thing.
Are we going to Guinan now, or?
Okay, well, we can wait. But let's talk about this then. So she goes, they end up merged and they want to create something new. And this is the Borg Queen. Yeah. This is not what's his face, Hugh, creating a little offshoot. This is the Borg fucking Queen.
Yeah.
So do any of the events happen now in the future? I'm assuming no.
Good question. Well, I guess we'd have to assume that they go off to some area of space and they create their own unique Borg collective, a la Q, and that is not the Borg collective that we know from Star Trek. This is a different Borg collective.
But this is the Borg Queen.
Yes.
This is the Queen.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But if it has to be a different collective, though, like they're starting from scratch.
So it has to be if you want to hold on to the Star Trek canon that has already transpired.
Right.
But I look at it, if this is reality and this happened, I mean, those events wouldn't have happened.
Right. They wouldn't. So that's why you'd have to say, like, this isn't the Borg. It's another version. It's some other thing. Right?
So then why didn't the Borg then? So this is the problem with TV, and you have to let it go, otherwise there's no story, because they want that twist. Why didn't Jurati just reveal herself when she infiltrates Rios' Stargazer with Picard there? She just, instead of just not saying anything, and starts releasing Dr. Octopus tentacles everywhere and firing, even though it's stunned, phaser fire. And this is the beginning of the show. She should just reveal herself and say, hey, I need your help. It's Jurati, by the way, Picard. Anyway.
Well, because I guess
there's no show then. There's no show.
But she also has the memory of what, it's a time loop, right? So she has the memory of what happened. She knows that she can't just do that because then it won't happen the way that it happened, right? Like she's created through a time loop, so she has to do the thing that otherwise doesn't happen.
You're right.
Right?
You're
you know what I mean? Like
right. I get it. But this is not a time loop. This is more of Q's meddling. That's the problem. It's not cause and effect.
It is cause and effect because she's there at the beginning of in episode 1. That's the Borg Queen. That's Jurati there. She has the memories of what happened on Earth.
No, I know, but the whole thing is Picard would have, if Q didn't intervene, it's all done. Q intervenes, creates this whole thing, and then brings him back. It's not like I'm going through something back in time. Q's bringing me back to that.
Right.
So there's no loop.
There is a loop because it always happens the way it happened. So like that person, that's always Jurati.
Oh, it happens the way it happens.
Right?
Yeah, no.
So it always happened that, right?
No,
so
I'm not denying it's not Jurati. I'm saying why didn't Jurati reveal herself? But if that happens, there's no twist for the audience. That's the reality, right?
I see what you're saying because if she could have showed up without the mask on.
Yeah, or they say, hey, it's
like,
Jurati.
And actually, that probably would have been better. It's been like, whoa, what's going on here?
That would have been interesting. It's Jurati, and you don't even know it's the Borg. Because they don't have the traditional, if they didn't do the green Borg tint, you wouldn't know it's because they specifically, but you could have done a different ship design.
Well, they
could have done whatever you want.
They did do a different ship design. It didn't look like a Borg ship. I mean, it had the machine look to it, but it wasn't a cube and it was that sort of starfish shape, whatever.
That's right. Yeah. Looked like it came from Krypton.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just saying that those are different ways to approach the twist, but whatever. I enjoyed her arc mainly because I enjoyed her action. I wanted more evil, like the kind of like the devil on the shoulder with her.
Yeah, that was kind of fun. Yeah,
it was fun, but I wanted them to play that up, you know. But yeah, I really wanted, but they didn't do enough. But I do enjoy the Star Trek aspect of it. It's like the motion picture. Let's create a new life form. Let's do something different. Let's evolve. Let's evolve the Borg, and here you go. So
yeah, I was okay with that. Still kind of dark though, because they still assimilate. Presumably, they still inject all of those outcasts with their nanites and assimilate them into a collective, probably by choice, I guess. Still a little like,
yeah, it'll be
still
by choice,
dumb.
but
still a little.
It depends. That's our future, man. Nanites are our future, so
Yeah.
you and I won't be seeing that, but a few generations from now, yeah.
I don't know if the collective consciousness is our future. Maybe.
No, not the
I guess we already
collective
have it.
consciousness.
It's called the internet.
It is the internet. That's right. Soon that internet will be in your brain. This is like what Kramer said. You're taking phone calls in your brain.
I don't want that.
It's coming.
I don't know.
20, 30 years from now.
I'll be happy to be dead before that happens.
There you go.
It's fine.
All right. Okay, let's go to Guinan. What are your thoughts? Young Guinan, old Guinan?
Are we talking about young yoked Guinan? Is that what we're talking about here?
Young Guinan?
Wow. She looked like she ate Whoopi Goldberg between deadlift sets. That chick. I was like, whoa, what is going on here? I just expected her to put Q in a headlock and pop his gull like a pimple. Like, I'm not sure how I felt about her. I liked her. She was good. I want to see her.
She was
great. I want to see her in a bunch more stuff. But where was the moment where she's like, yeah, remember that time we met Mark Twain?
Yeah,
A couple hundred
exactly.
years ago?
That's right. Who are you?
We stopped that alien invasion that time. Like, why didn't she remember any of that? Like,
no, I don't know.
It was so weird.
Because they clearly say the timeline is not diverged until 2024.
Yeah.
Which is why they went back here.
Right. So I don't know if I read this or if I just like made it work in my brain is like the timeline diverges in 2024, which means that future Picard never goes back in time. It means, I guess, that Guinan never went on that adventure with Mark Twain and Picard and Data, so she wouldn't remember Picard. Like,
I'm assuming that's how they got out of it.
Is that what they, because that's not what they said. They didn't say any of that. That's me.
But I'll say this. I don't think they thought about that at all. As you said, do these guys watch the show?
Yeah.
So they probably didn't even know that episode exists.
Well, no, I think they did. I just think that they didn't care that it existed. They're just like, yeah, fuck it. You know what actually insults me is I think they watched all of those episodes. I think they know. Because we know that Patrick Stewart watched those episodes. Patrick Stewart knows. We know that Whoopi Goldberg knows the episode she was fucking in.
She's not in those episodes when she's young.
No.
She's a cameo.
What I'm saying is that Whoopi knows that she was in Time's Arrow.
Yes.
Right? Because she loves Star Trek. That's why she wanted to be on Star Trek. She knows every episode she was on because she asked to be on it.
And I swear,
she loves Star Trek.
Yeah, that's fine. But I
swear.
Like
when they're doing these, you know that Patrick Stewart and they're just like, whoa. Like, wait, we did this. It's like, they're like, don't worry about it. People who are watching this show won't remember. I feel like that was their attitude.
I think you got it wrong. I think that's Patrick Stewart's attitude.
I
honest opinion. So. No, I do think so.
No, because I've seen Patrick Stewart at conventions, and he's on fucking point. He knows what the fans know.
You're missing my point. He knows that there's that episode there. He knows the fans point it out. He doesn't care. This is minutia to him. His interest is his trauma story, why he's here. He doesn't care about that stuff.
But then they don't need Guinan.
Well, you didn't need Guinan anyway.
But they don't need Guinan now.
No.
They didn't need her in this series.
They
brought
didn't.
her back because because they wanted to, or whatever it is, pay tribute or do anything. So if you're doing that...
It's a publicity stunt. It's a publicity stunt for Patrick Stewart. It's to bring awareness to Picard. He goes on The View, and I saw that episode because it was on YouTube, and I think they were showing it as part of the publicity for kickstarting season 2, or announcing season 2, is that he goes on The View and says, asks her there, will you be part of this? It's publicity stunt. It's not about for the sake of good storytelling.
No.
He's trying to get viewership. Paramount Plus wants people to subscribe. That's what this is all about.
Hey, that's fine. No problem. Do that. All for that. You got to promote your show. Promote your show. But then they make the decision to what? She's in, how many scenes is she in? 2, 3? 2 episodes, right?
2 episodes, 2 scenes. One
yeah.
scene each, yeah. One scene
Right.
each, yeah.
So you didn't even need the young Guinan, and I liked her.
Mm-hmm. No, you didn't.
You didn't even need to do that.
Exactly. Well, you didn't need either Guinan, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
Well, you didn't need older, but you like, I'm fine with having her in a couple scenes just for nostalgia, for fun. Like, that's okay. Like, it's a cameo. Fine.
So is she running this bar for the entire run of the show?
I guess.
So she named the bar 10
on Forward Street.
And then she names the thing 10 Forward on the Enterprise?
No, because on the Enterprise, it's on Deck 10, Forward section.
So I understand then in the future, if she ended up on Earth, she calls her bar that. Why is it just called that in the past?
Well, I mean, they're implying, that she's, they have an awareness outside of linear time, to quote yesterday's Enterprise, right? Like, they have that, they have that thing that's sort of outside of time. Oh. And that's their excuse to do things like that. And okay, that part, fine.
It's not an issue. That's an issue.
It's fine. I liked her. She didn't need to be there. I was fine with Whoopi being there for the cameo. Younger Guinan, who, again, loved, put her in everything. Oh. She was great.
And then they spent, 2 episodes with that guy, Mulder?
Yeah.
Oh,
fucking
man.
Kmart Mulder.
I forgot about this story point.
I felt so bad for that guy. I liked him.
Dude, they spent 2 episodes, or at least an episode and a half, because he comes in at the end, arrests Picard and Guinan, young Guinan, and says, "I saw you transport. Come with me." Then they spend a whole episode about his trauma, about the Vulcans.
They should have got David Duchovny to play.
Oh, it should have been David Duchovny. But, dude, this was bad. This is filler. It's like,
filler.
We got 10 episodes,
filler.
and we have nothing to do. I got nothing. That's essentially what it is. They got nothing.
Well, that's why I said they could have done this whole season. If this was TNG, 2-parter tops.
Oh, man.
Right? You would have been done. You could have cut out all this stuff.
This is terrible.
I forgot about Kmart Mulder. Actually, I'm happy now that he was...
No, yeah, you're happy that we've talked about Kmart Mulder. Jeff, you want to believe, now you can.
Yep, 100%.
But you agree, terrible, right?
Oh, brutal.
We don't need to talk about it anymore. It's bad.
No, yeah, let's move on.
Okay. So I think we've rounded out Guinan, right? Yeah. I agree. It's a waste. There's questions. I find it curious. And it's just a cameo that meant nothing. And that's it. Okay. Q. So, Jeff, in season 1, we talked about this whole season. Season 1 was it was not good, but we said because you got 5 minutes of a great scene with Picard and Data, it almost made it worth it. Mm-hmm. In a sense. In one sense. Even though it still wasn't worth it for me.
Right, yeah.
Did this do the same thing for you?
Not quite, but what I will say is that when John Delancey was on screen, he's the only one I felt was actually playing his character from TNG.
Yes.
I was like, he's playing Q.
Yes.
That's Q right now. Yes. And it was almost like they turned the camera on, they got Delancey on set, and they're like, they just let him cook. Just do it. Go, John. You got it, right? It's like they passed McDavid the puck and let him go to work, man. That's what it felt like. He had a couple real good scenes. He was Q. And was it worth it for the whole season? I don't know that I want to put that responsibility on the guy, but yeah, it was nice to see Q.
Oh, 100%. I loved the first 2 episodes with Q. As soon as he said Mon Capitaine, I was in. I was hooked. I was like, yes, and yes. And yes, my fists were going, I was pumping, I was like, I was doing fist pumps, I was in the zone. It was like, this feels right. The story.
Like, the story is brutal. Like, it didn't make any sense.
No, it didn't make any sense.
Dying? Why? What's going on here?
No, nothing made sense. No, nothing. He looks great.
He looked good, yeah, and he was cute. Like he
and him and Picard had great chemistry. Why are we not having more episodes with these guys here?
That should have been the whole show.
Yes.
Old Q, old Picard. Old man Q and Picard. That's what it should have been.
It could have been like this.
Traveling the cosmos. Tapestry, but 10 episodes of Tapestry.
Yes, but it's just like that Batman game where the Joker's dead. He's in his mind.
Yeah.
So you see in the game,
you
see him pop up and Picard can't let go of him.
Yeah.
And that's actually what Colin Trevorrow was going to do with Luke and Kylo Ren, by the way, in episode 9. Was that Luke was going to be kind of haunting him. His kind of voice over his shoulder. Kind of taunting him a little bit. Which would have been fantastic.
Yeah,
that would have been the only way.
I mean, fuck Colin Trevorrow, but yeah.
Anyways, despite your points on Colin Trevorrow, that's
he's
better.
He's not a good director. He's not a good movie maker.
I'll take 5 billion movies from him than one more of JJ. But that's all I got to say.
Yeah. Well, name one that was actually good that he made.
Name one of JJ movie that's actually good.
Star Trek was pretty good.
No, it's
Mission Impossible 3 was pretty good.
Insulting.
Super 8 was alright. It was better than anything Colin Trevorrow made. And The Force Awakens, for, all of its problems, is also... But it's a better movie than any movie Colin Trevorrow ever made.
No. Anyways.
What's a better movie than Colin Trevorrow ever made?
I'm not going down this road.
No, go down the path. Just name one movie. Just name one movie
I
that
like
Colin Trevorrow made.
I like Safety Not Guaranteed.
Fine, no, it's fine. It's fine.
I don't mind, even though I'm not... This is just like popcorn, fluff.
Yeah.
I will take Jurassic, what was the first?
Jurassic World.
I'll take that over Force Awakens.
But it's not a good movie.
But neither is Force Awakens.
Fine, I'll give you that. But it isn't a good movie. No.
It's just popcorn fluff, which is...
It sucks. It's actually terrible.
Yeah,
it's popcorn. But
it's popcorn
watch
fluff.
The movie.
You're just watching it for dinosaurs chewing on people and roaring at each other, and that's it.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's a bad movie. Jurassic Park movies suck, except the first one.
Yes.
They all suck. They all suck, except the first one.
The first one's great. The first one's fucking terrific. Actually, Jurassic Park 2, I feel...
No, it's terrible.
I don't know. I feel it's underrated.
I like it when the T-Rex is in the city. That's it. The rest of the movie is crap.
It's not great.
No, the rest of the movie is crap.
It's almost like George was like, not George, Steven was like, you know what? I should have made Jaws 2. And this is
it's so funny. There was an article about him talking about Jaws 2.
Yeah.
He was about to do Jaws 2.
I know he was. Yeah. But he didn't. But then he did with Jaws. He's like, I should have done Jaws 2. This is my Jaws 2.
Yes.
It's not good, but better than any movie Colin Trevorrow. So
I want Steven Spielberg to do Jaws the Return. It's like Jaws the Revenge, but even more bloodier. He's able to walk on land now.
Jaws, the Shark Awakens is what...
The Shark Awakens, that's right.
Wouldn't it be awesome if Spielberg did a Jaws movie now?
Oh, man. He should just do it for fun.
Oh, my God. I can't imagine. I would give you $100 to watch it. Here's $100. I'll go watch Jaws 12 or whatever it is by Steven Spielberg. That'd be so great.
Anyways, we're talking about Q. I loved every scene with Q, but his storyline made no sense. I like the idea of him trying to give Picard another trial about a personal trial, saying, I don't want you to die alone. And I have no problem with him going through all of this hardship, I would say, for Picard, because that's Q. You can't say that that's not Q. Q does that all the time.
Yes.
So I'm fine with that. But I don't understand this whole thing about Renee Picard and this microorganism and him trying to convince her she shouldn't be on that ship and pretending to be a psychiatrist. What the fuck was that about? We have to talk about one more storyline before we're done here. Is the Soong storyline.
Yeah.
So that's next. But I don't even understand any of that. So then he also goes to, what's her name? Soji's character in this show now?
I don't remember her name.
Corey? I think it's Corey.
Sure.
Okay, let's call her Corey.
Let's call her Soji.
Sure. He even goes to her.
Let's call her Lal. How about we call her Lal?
Sure, Lal. So he goes to her and even interferes there. I can't recall what he said to her, but he freaks her out through this virtual reality machine. I don't even understand any of what's going on here. Tell me, what's happening, please?
Okay, here's what I understand. So, for no reason, Q sets up this whole bullshit for Picard to go on a journey of self-discovery, I guess. Why he chooses this... Because Q purposefully, I guess what you could say is that Q is trying to show Picard how tenuous the balance is. Like, you were this close to being that dark future that I showed you. Right?
How small of a universe that is. Do you buy that? It's that close that it's all about Renee Picard and finding that microorganism? I don't find that I
don't buy it that it's so close that it's just this microorganism, but I think it's the same storyline as, and this is another issue that I had with it, is like, as we said, 3 that I counted direct references to Star Trek 4. The other main thrust of the storyline is First Contact. It's the same storyline as that. It's the difference between this ship launching and not. That's it. The other stuff, and that's just some bullshit sci-fi stuff, but the difference is really small. Like, you're at, like, this point in your history is so close to being this other thing. And I don't know why they're saying or what they're saying about that or why it's a little weird, right? Because if he hadn't interfered, would have been fine.
But see, here's the thing. What Sung was doing at the end was more, even though it was still stupid, I'm going to destroy the whole rocket ship for me launching. But the whole thrust of Picard coming back here and Renee, and the Watcher watching Renee, and Q trying to convince Renee is that she's the most important aspect of the mission. In First Contact, you can't launch that ship without Zephyr Cochrane. Without, obviously, the future people there. Riker and Geordi could do it, but it's not their place because they're advanced, right, in the knowledge of warp drive. Zephyr Cochrane's really the only one who knows how to operate that ship from that timeline.
Yes.
Here, we don't get the impression that Renee is the only one who's going to be on that ship, the shuttle.
That's correct. She would have had a backup.
She would have had a backup. So this storyline makes no sense to me at all. No, it does not.
And you could go any way with it, and we'll go back to that Deep Space Nine episode, or that two-parter, where, what was his name? Bell, right? Was the character who died. Cisco had to take his place.
Right.
Is that, like, it was more the events were determinative of the future, not...
That's right, not the person.
You're right. So
to me, Renee, it's more like the event was more important than her.
Totally.
Yeah.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
You can't get on the ship, I get it back up in. That's right, if an astronaut gets sick, you throw in the fucking understudy and boom, you're off to the fucking races. You're fine.
That's right.
So it's some total bullshit, pointless. Don't know why Q was doing any of that, because if he's trying to show the razor's edge of history there, that's fine. If he's trying to show, here's the razor's edge of history, you have to be...
You have to make sure that rocket launches,
Well, if it's like, here's the razor's edge, you have to always be diligent, because authoritarianism, xenophobia, all of these things, they're right there. They're always right there. It's on the razor's edge. You have to be diligent. That's the price to pay, is that you always have to be diligent. Then, like, great. That would have been cool. That would have been a cool message.
Greed. Because that's what it was.
Well, sure.
Sung is just greed.
It could have been all of those.
Yeah.
Right? Greed, xenophobia, racism, all of this stuff, right? It's the razor's edge, and you have to be diligent, right? You have to be ready for this stuff.
Well, it wasn't about that, though.
Wasn't about that at all. They just kind of skirted around it. Now, the storyline with Sung and his daughter, here's where I thought they were going, and they didn't go there, but it must have been what they were thinking of, is that, and we already know this from Star Trek Enterprise, that he's the father of eugenics. That if, let's say, the launch fails...
Is this the same character?
He's an ancestor.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this Enterprise show. So this episode in Enterprise. So.
Yeah, it kind of ties in. So in the final season, season 4 of Enterprise, it was the first story arc. They did like a 3-episode arc, not Khan, but the eugenic soldiers, right? The same guys. So Sung had created these enhanced humans, right? That was in Enterprise. So that's the Brent Spiner connection. So Brent Spiner already played a Sung ancestor. So what they were implying here is that he creates these enhanced humans. The one who creates Khan. Right? We see that because he pulls up the folder. It was so stupid.
That was the other belly laugh. I couldn't.
But I already knew. But again, because I've watched Enterprise, I knew that was what was happening. I knew that was the character who was playing. Right? Is that in the dark future that Q showed Picard, Khan would have been.
But Khan is a person. I know what they're doing. They're saying.
But that's what would have taken over and birthed the Confederation. Was that line that future would have come from? Is the genetically enhanced, the super soldiers, the xenophobic Confederation, like that's where it came from, was him. That's where I assumed they were going with it. And I think that's what they were hinting at. They did a really bad job of, tying up those knots, right? They didn't do a good job of it. Well, but that's what they were going. That's why that
was all terrible. For me,
it was brutal. Well, if you had seen it, those episodes of Enterprise, that probably would have made more sense to you, because that's the first place I went to, because I knew that's what they were going for, but brutal.
None of that's made any sense. And then the fact that, well, why did they call it eugenics? It's like...
Because it's not eugenics. Eugenics is a totally different thing than what he was doing.
Yeah, but he calls it Khan. Khan's a name.
Project Khan.
I would have only have accepted it if he screamed out Khan.
That would have been pretty dope, actually.
Then I'm okay. Okay, there's one other thing that I want to name drop here in case I forget it. Okay, I want to talk about one specific scene. In episode 2, Q shows him all the skulls. I dug that painting of Confederate Picard.
Oh,
I want that painting in my house. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
It's dope. But you got the name drops, right? Del Ducat, General Martok. It's like,
oh,
great.
yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And episode 2, Seven is president.
Yes.
And her husband in that timeline was saying, should I call General Cisco? And
hear that.
me and my sister lost it. We actually thought there is a possibility Avery Brooks will come in this show and just light this shit up like Nicolas Cage. And the fact that didn't happen, I was so crushed.
They probably couldn't get a day pass for him.
But yeah, General Cisco. I was like, yes.
They should have wheeled him in like Hannibal Lecter.
Yes. Oh, man. Oh, man. But just imagine if you had Avery Brooks as a cameo in that episode as well.
I wonder if they tried to get him and he just started like singing a song through the phone and they're like, all right, guess it's not going to happen. Click. You just hear like piano, like playing the piano on the other end. I'm like, all right, worth a try.
Oh, man. I yearn for Cisco. I need more Cisco.
I mean, hey, man, anything's possible. I wonder if they're trying.
No. Can we please not have any more Star Trek Picard? I want Star Trek Cisco. That's what I want.
That's what I mean. I was like, what? Maybe they're trying. You know? You never know.
Man. Oh, Avery Brooks. How I miss thee.
We never thought we'd get this. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Well, they still could do that. I think Shatner wrote a book about him coming back as Captain Kirk.
He did. He wrote several books about that.
Can we not just have that storyline come back as Shatner plays himself?
Well, I mean, in due respect to Shatner, who's fucking ripping it at 91 or whatever, however old he is, I don't know that he could quite pull it off at his age.
I think he could do a better job than Patrick Stewart is.
I don't think so.
In terms of physicality.
No. Patrick Stewart, keeps himself in shape. William Shatner is a fucking... I know bitch went to space and, respect, but seriously. He's 91, man. Patrick Stewart's only, 79. Come on.
Patrick Stewart looks frail. William Shatner does not.
Nah.
I'm not saying he's fighting on top of, what is it called, that mountaintop or whatever it was. With
Vasquez Rocks.
Yeah. Well, he might be able to fight at the same pace if he faces the Gord again.
Yeah, maybe. Listen, I'll tell you what. I don't know what I was going to say. I don't think Shatner could... Yeah, no. It wouldn't work.
I'll take it. Any Shatner's...
In a short, maybe, do Star Trek short.
Yeah.
Making eggs.
Looking
for the dill.
Where's the dill? Where's the dill?
Where's the dill? It's right there because he's 100 years old. He doesn't know. It's just right on the counter in front of the eggs. He's he doesn't know where it is.
I'll take any Shatner at the stage. I need one more. He needs one more.
This is a horse outside. I can tool for that shit.
He still rides, man. I wouldn't count him out.
I doubt it.
Really? I think he rides.
He's 90, dude. He's not riding horses. Come on.
If I find video for you and prove you wrong, what will you do?
Sure. I won't do anything other than say, cool. He rides horses. I was wrong about that. I don't give a fuck.
Okay. Anyways.
I need to watch that video.
Okay, let's get back on track. So, the Q storyline, did it wrap up well for you? Were you happy with that scene at the end?
Was I happy? The scene was fine. It was a bit of an awkward hug, right? Wasn't a very good hug between Picard and Q. And I guess it wrapped up okay in the sense that the scene was fine, but because the storyline leading up to it didn't really work for me.
It would left you wanting.
Yeah, exactly. And
I had the same reaction.
Yeah.
It was sweet, but it left me wanting.
Yeah.
It's why couldn't this be developed better so this is a better payoff?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
But I will say, Jonathan Delancey probably was the star of the season when he was on screen.
He crushed it. He stole every scene he was in. He crushed it.
As usual. He's fucking awesome.
As usual. Oh, he's great.
I love John Delancey. Yeah. Such a great actor. Okay, so that's it, Jeff. Did I miss anything?
Are we not going to talk about Wesley Crusher?
Oh, fuck yes. Okay, let's do it. This came out of nowhere, but let's do it. It was weird. I didn't get it at all.
Well, I was like, holy shit.
I didn't mind seeing him again.
No, it was great. Why was great. Have a scene with Picard?
Yeah. He's watching over Picard. He's talking about Watchers. Yeah. Why didn't he come say hi to Picard? Yeah, I'm watching over your shoulder. You're okay, buddy.
Yeah, right? Just a quick hug or hey, what's up? How do they do that and not have a scene between the two? Because I don't get it.
I don't get it either, but Picard's been tough on him. Maybe he's still holding the grudge. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, fuck you, old man. That's what they should have done. It's like, you know what? Fuck you.
Yeah, but
fuck my life. Fuck off.
I don't understand. So, is this a season 3 storyline they're doing, or it's just like, let's just give Will Wheaton something?
Well, they're bringing everybody else back. We know that, right?
Yeah.
So, is he going to be back? I doubt it. I doubt that he's back.
I doubt that Wesley's in season 3.
Yeah.
And this is just superfluous garbage. That it was just.
Well,
we want to give Will Wheaton something. He's been a good sport.
Listen, I'm fine with the idea, and he has been a good sport, and I was fine with it. If they're not going to do anything with it, then you don't need to do it in the first place.
No.
But I don't. So my question, I guess, I don't know if we were going to talk about this. Is anything going to be made of that anomaly that the Borg came and helped Starfleet deal with there? And they're like, we'll hang out and just make sure this is good. Like, is that going to, that's nothing now, right? Like, are we going to go back to that or?
Starting point for season 3. But I heard Alison Pill said that she's not in season 3. So all I know about season 3 is that Jerry Ryan and the person who plays Raffi will be in it. How much, I don't know. That's all you get. So doubtful that anomaly plays any role for season.
So what the fuck was that then?
Nothing.
They're doing way too many anomalies on Star Trek now. Like, Star Trek Discovery is all spatial anomalies. Mm-hmm. So, fine, but like, well, we need more spatial anomalies in Picard? No, we need fewer spatial anomalies, guys.
Yes,
Star Trek's all about spatial anomalies. Like, fuck spatial anomalies.
It's boring. Its whole thing is just like, oh, we're here, we came through, and we need your help. Let's just bubble up our shields and push this thing back. I don't even know what that thing was. I don't even know what they were doing.
They were synchronizing their shields, Harry. That's what they were doing. And why they needed the Borg to do that, because we know they've done that before, when they did that cloaking shield thing in the, you know what I mean, you know that episode? It was the 2-parter, the season.
I know the episode. I know the season. Sure. Let's just.
Well, they do the cloaking. Yeah.
They do the cloaking. Sure.
Yeah.
Let's just keep
they know how to do that.
They know how to do something.
So what do they need the Borg? Oh, synchronize your shields. Oh, shit. We didn't know how to do that before. Yeah, motherfuckers, you did know how to do that before. Why did they need her for that? Why did they need fucking 500-year-old Girardi, Borg Queen, to be like, oh, synchronize your shields? Like that, the whole season amounted, that was basically the point.
Yeah.
Is what it all amounts to is synchronize your shields. Picard trusts us now. Really?
We needed your help.
For what?
Synchronize your shield with us, and the season is done in 10 seconds. Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you.
Best 2-parter on TNG.
No, you're giving it too much credit. 1 episode. Come on.
The thing is, there's a lot of plot. I feel like it's a 2-parter.
Sure. But okay, I'll give you a 2-parter.
In standard TNG 2-parter fashion, the second episode's a disappointment.
Yeah, a slight letdown.
You know what I mean? Like, not all of them, but the resolution to the cliffhanger is like, oh, okay, it's fine.
100% agree with you. Usually the 2-parters are slightly anticlimactic. Yes.
Exactly. Like, there's no 2-parter in Next Gen where the second part was better than the first one.
Nope, none.
Which is fine.
Because
they're still fine, but like, that's what this would have been. Is like a 2-parter with a good first episode and an okay second episode.
You haven't seen Up the Long Ladder Part 2 there, Jeff.
Oh my God, I'd love Up the Long with Riker's 12 children.
Yes, that was a killer episode. Sub Rosa Part 2. There you go.
Oh, I'll go Sub Rosa Part 2. Yeah. Beverly fucks Picard's mom's ghost.
Yes. And Troy watches.
Troy watches, exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, she's empathic, right? So she can feel everybody's emotions in that situation there.
That's right.
Yeah. Yikes. No, I think Riker watches. I think he's the one who's watching.
Yeah, he's the one watching.
He's got that grin on his face.
Exactly.
As he mounts a chair.
That's right. All right, so Jeff.
Riker's hungry. Yeah.
All right, so I think there's nothing else now. So that ending made no sense. It's just roundabout filler to make the season exist.
Yeah.
And garbage shit on that set. So what are your thoughts? I think we covered everything, right?
Yes, we covered it all.
Okay. We'll get to season 3 in a second. Just give me your final thoughts on this season. I believe you gave season 1 a pass.
Yes.
Last time. And I think we ranked it out of 10. So give me your ranking, a score out of 10, and your final thoughts on season 2.
I think I'm going to give it a generous 5 out of 10. It has its moments. John Delancey rules. Still love Jerry Ryan, even though underutilized. And Patrick Stewart, man, I can't not love the guy, even though this is, I don't know. I don't care. It's got its moments. It's inexplicable in a lot of its plot points.
There's some definitely like, why did that episode happen? Especially the immigration episode. Like, why'd you do that episode? Nothing happen. But it's got some moments. I believe, I like the characters and I like the actors doing what they can with very little material. Star Trek. So I got a soft spot. I fully admit it. That's why I say it's generous 5. It's a shame. It was a disappointment, no question. Especially after the first episode. The first episode's good. Mm-hmm. The first episode feels like Star Trek, and then I don't know. It's kind of like you dangled some treats in front of me, and then you just kicked me in the balls afterwards. That's mean. That's kind of mean to me.
It's like last week when we got the goalies. It's like the goalies weren't showing up in our city, and it's like they show up and then they're shit,
and then they're garbage. Yeah, fuck. Thanks for nothing, guys. Appreciate it.
It's like we're better off just playing posts.
It's like, guess we'll see you next year, boys. Fuck. Yeah, so it's a disappointment. Just an epic disappointment all around. Do you remember when you heard that, this was going to happen? Shit, they're doing a show, and it's Picard. Patrick Stewart's coming back, and it's Picard. Star Trek Picard is the show. It's like,
I remember clearly. We talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah.
You called me a neckbeard, because I was scared.
Well, you are a neckbeard.
So there you go. So you said, I gotta have hope. And I said, I got none left after what they did with Star Wars. And I was like...
Yeah, but that doesn't... Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. We can litigate that later. It's too bad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at it, but I am...
Yeah, I'm not mad. Yeah. I'm not mad either. I'm indifferent at this point. I try to take more, being on the show with you, I try and take a little bit more of a fun approach to things now, right? If it's bad. I enjoyed watching it because, especially this season, because my sister was in town. Mm-hmm. So we watched Star Trek all the time together. So it's been so long since we saw any Star Trek or any new Star Trek, especially. And because it was Patrick Stewart, and we really did get a kick out of it, watching it together. So that was enjoyable. So that helped the experience. So I'm thankful for that. But I am disappointed. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to give it a solid point for I'm going to give 2 points for the first 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. 1.5 points, and I'm giving a whole half point just for the name drop of General Sisko. Yeah. Now, if Sisko actually showed up on the show, even for 10 seconds, this would be a 10 out of 10.
Oh, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. You got every book?
12. That's a
12 out of 10. Yeah. Yes. Especially if he was chasing Picard down.
Oh, my God.
Man. Oh,
still blaming him for Wolf 359?
Oh, man. So if that happened, this would have been a masterpiece of a show, but that didn't happen, so I should erase all my points for just the name drop. But I'll give it half a point for a name drop, and I'm going to give it a solid 1 point just for John DeLaney. Yeah. But the storylines did not make any sense. Nothing was worthwhile in the end. The journey for Picard was not worthwhile. I enjoyed Agnes for a bit. She's kind of part of the points that I'm giving here, and that message that the Borg could be better. So that's very Star Trek. I like that. But yeah, I'm going to give it either a 3.5 out of 10. It's a step down from season 1 for me. It's disappointing because you have John Delancey here now, and you didn't utilize him enough.
Yeah.
And the story wasn't good enough for a send-off.
No.
Bad writing.
Yeah.
So that's where I stand. So it's disappointing. It sucks. Picard and Star Trek as a whole should be better. So
yeah.
I don't know what Patrick Stewart's doing, and I guess let's lead into season 3. What is Patrick Stewart doing? And why are these characters coming back? Because what are you going to tell? What's happening? I mean, we obviously don't know what's happening, but what's the point at this stage? And does this signify that the studio and Patrick Stewart himself, because he's in control, as you said, he didn't want these guys here. He didn't want to share. It's not his interest. It's not that he doesn't like his castmates.
Yeah, he just didn't want to do TNG redux, right? Yeah.
But that's what season 3 is going to be. It has to be.
Well, we'll see what it is. I'm curious because what I heard, and you and I are not industry professionals. We're not insiders. We don't know anything outside of the bullshit that we like to speculate about. We're just a couple of assholes podcasting. I did listen to a podcast with people who are in the industry, and what I heard there was that they knew, and they couldn't say, that this was they always wanted this for season 3, was the cast from the original cast for season 3. Whether that's true or not,
that's spin doctrine.
Don't know. Maybe. Well, no. From what I was there's no connection or anything like that.
It was just like, we'd heard that this is what they always wanted to do. Couldn't say anything. So this is what they're doing. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. But what role does Brent Spiner play? Like, are they going to bring Data back?
He's not Data. He's going to be Soong.
He's going to be a Soong.
Again,
okay, fine.
It's like, fuck, enough of this Soong.
Yeah.
If there's one character that should not come back, he's had enough. Honestly, I've had enough.
He should just build B4 again. It'd be more interesting.
Yeah.
Just sit there in the background, like
whistling.
A butterfly
he's like
or
whistling.
something.
He'll be like Fat Thor. He's just in the background, half asleep.
That'd be fine.
That'd be okay.
That'd be better.
Yeah.
That'd be better. No offense to Brent Spiner. Brent Spiner's fine. Brent Spiner's great. Love Brent Spiner. Done with the Soong shit.
Yeah, I'm done with the Soong.
It's fine. Play it out. It's good. I love LeVar Burton. Bring him on. Haven't seen
Michael Dorn, baby.
Yeah.
Michael Dorn is coming back.
Give me some Gates. I love Gates. Give me all of that. Fine. Good. Let's do it. Maybe it'll suck, but I don't care. You know what? Here's what I'll say. Whatever they're going to do and everything they've already done on Picard, it's better than Star Trek Nemesis, so I'm fine.
I wouldn't say that. It's not better than
Nemesis is pretty bad though, right?
Nemesis is terrible.
Yeah.
That just shows you what this. I'm not taking this over Nemesis.
I'll take this over Nemesis.
No.
All days.
No. Are you talking about season 3 or season 1 and 2 over Nemesis?
No, I'll take 1 and 2 over Nemesis. No. Fuck Nemesis. I mean,
you're insane.
I don't think so. I don't think so because this is like seasons 1 and 2 of Picard are like, you know what? Don't worry about anything else. It's fine. We're just going to do this other thing. Whereas Nemesis was like, oh, did you like Star Trek The Next Generation? Because we're going to fuck it right up the ass. And give you the middle finger while we do it, too. Is that cool? Yeah. That's what we're going to do right now. And then they wink at you while they do it. Like, fuck that movie, man. This isn't doing that, at least. It's not good, but it's not that.
Patrick Stewart's got the bills. The stacked bills like Evander Kane.
Oh,
in Vegas right now after season 2.
He's taking the call.
He's happy.
On the stack of bills. Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is a cash cow for him.
And he's making it rain, but that's fine. Hey, listen, make the bank. I don't care, but don't give me the middle finger like Nemesis did. And it didn't give me the middle finger. It kind of gave me the cold shoulder, but didn't give me the middle finger. No. If that makes sense.
Nemesis gave you the cold shoulder. These are giving you the middle finger.
I disagree. I think it's the reverse. Nemesis didn't even know that it was Star Trek.
No, but you could say the same thing about First Contact.
Well,
First Contact is an action movie.
You could actually say that about pretty much every Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
All action movies.
Well, Star Trek 6 and Star Trek the Motion Picture are awesome.
No, they're great. They're fantastic.
They're not just
action movies.
Star Trek 2 is... Star Trek is an action. Okay, we have to get into an argument about Star Trek 2 because I think that gets unfairly maligned. It is an action movie.
Hold on. Star Trek 2 does not get unfairly maligned. Star Trek 2 is widely regarded by every Star Trek fan out there as the greatest Star Trek movie ever. Yeah. It is not unfairly maligned. But it is an action movie, and it is less a Star Trek movie than 1, 4, and 6.
I would agree with that statement.
It's a great movie.
It's not just a great movie. It is also a Star Trek. Now, is it as allegorical as Star Trek the Motion Picture or Star Trek 6 or Star Trek 4? No. But it is still an exploration on the human condition. 100%. Which is what Star Trek is about. We'll get into that one day in the future. But it is 100%. Yes. 100%. I'll die on that bridge, Jeff. So.
I know you will. You and every other Star Trek fan. And that's fine. Love it. Great movie. Love it to death. Fantastic. What I'm trying to say is that every Star Trek movie is essentially more an action movie first.
Yes. Yeah, and I agree with that statement.
And Star Trek second. All of them. Except for the maybe motion picture.
That's why the motion picture is one of the best Star Trek movies of all time.
Great movie.
No action, and everyone hates it for it, but it's a fucking fest. It's probably one of the best 2.5 hour packed of Star Trek you'll ever get.
Yeah,
Star Trek the Motion.
Great Star Trek story. And a really good movie. And everything else is action movie first. Action movie first, Star Trek second, in different proportions. Really all of them, if we really wanted to unpack it. But we don't need to get into that.
No.
But I will take Picard season 1 or 2 over Nemesis, because Nemesis can do things that are not friendly for a family show like ours.
I'll say this. Season 1 and 2, I'll take Attack of the Clones over Season 1 in Picard.
Whoa.
Oh, yes.
The only argument you've got in your favor there Is that if you watch Attack of the Clones? At least it's over in 2.5 hours.
That's right.
As opposed to like 20 hours of Picard.
Well,
I'd rather watch 20 hours of Picard.
Here's a sad thing. That's just the benchmark for our podcast. But the worst Star Wars movie is still Rise of Skywalker. Heads down.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Anyways, let's not cross the streams.
No, let's not cross the streams. It's not worth it.
No, because we'll be here for another 5 years. So, okay, Jeff, that's it for today, unless you got anything else. But I guess I have one last question.
Okay.
We are going to do season 3.
I assume so. Yeah, of course.
Now, obviously we could change our mind. But I think because the cast is coming back, we should do an episode break. I don't know if you're up for it. It's too early to say.
I'm always up for it. We did it for season 1, did we not?
Yep.
We did it for Discovery, didn't we not? We did a lot of Discovery season 1.
Yes.
And I think we did a blow-by-blow for Picard season 1. So yeah, for sure we can do season.
No, a blow-by-blow. Episode by episode. It's the cast. I think we have to. Because they're coming back.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, Jeff, that's it. It's almost 3 hours. I thought we'd be done in an hour, and you were right.
Yeah.
No.
Wasn't possible. Not even close.
No.
I thought 90 minutes, though. Like, we're almost at 3, so the fuck do we know? We're a couple idiots.
That's right. All right, Jeff. Well, I'm going to hit the sack. I think that's a good time to say goodnight. I will see you next time.
All right, man. Looking forward to it.
All right. Cheers.